I've got 7 o'clock, so if we're good, we'll get rolling. Because we are online as well, I was going to do just a roll call of everyone, so just say here if you're here, and then we'll get right into the agenda. All right. Miles Brown is not here, but I'm expecting him. Dean Burho.
Here.
Tim Eagle.
Here.
Jack Kemper.
Here.
Bob Sanford.
Here.
Peter Van Beckham is not here,
He's not coming either.
and he's not coming. Sheldon Crosby.
Here.
Tim LaBouffier.
Here.
And Dave Quisenberry.
Here.
All right. The first item on the agenda, I actually get to drive this evening. So, Brick Walk Shops LLC application to replace siding it's encompassing the entire Brick Walk Shop. So it's listing all the addresses as shown on the screen. And the application is in with the Historic Commission, and they are looking to replace siding specifically, and the first project is at 2 High Street, to replace it with either the hardy plank or there's an Allura siding. So it's the composite material siding. This is the breakdown of the buildings that this will encompass. 2 High Street is here. It's the Webster Bank building. That's the one that's in the panel side. Colors are going to stay the same, trim's going to stay the same. It's just some of the siding, the clapboard siding, starting to deteriorate. It needs to be replaced and just painting at this particular point in time. So, I had checked in on a couple of things with them, but they were not, neither Patrick Downing or Kathy Marino were able to call in. Like I said, it'll go to Farmington Historic District Tuesday.
Yeah, I think my only comment would be just the exposure.
Exposure stays the same.
Stays the same
Yep,
as
which
what's
I
on the existing
believe
building.
they actually made a note of it somewhere up here.
And you said the trim is all remaining?
The trim's remaining. If there's an issue with the trim, then I did ask about that. If there's door and window trim issues, then their intent would be to replace with a like-for-like replacement, preferably use PVC, again, for the just longevity and maintenance.
Are they planning to, like, re-side complete areas, or just, like, patch here and there?
No, I think for 2 High Street in particular, it sounds that they're doing the entire building.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't think they would want to, mix that product in with regular wood.
Sure.
But if they're going to redo, like, a whole side or a whole building, either one of those should be fine.
Correct.
So hardy plank is particularly effective when you butt it to either corner boards or trim on windows or doors.
Okay.
Where hardy plank begins to lose its effectiveness is on the corners.
If you miter it.
Very difficult miter.
Okay.
Hardy tends, unless you really know what you're doing, it chips a little bit.
Gotcha.
So even a wood miter would look better. It's just something that they really pay attention to.
I'll relay that to them.
I'm sure they know that, but
I think they've, I think Patrick's used it in the past. Hi, Miles, how are you? That's okay.
Shannon, quick question. So they're going to be painting this to stay the same exact colors? They're not looking for like the closest match of a standard color?
My understanding, yes.
I think that's important.
Yeah, yeah, I think that should be part of it.
Quite a standard color in life for more than a week.
Yeah, their intent, and that was one of the questions that I had asked, and general color schemes of the buildings to remain the same. They said yes to remain white. So the High Street building, the 2 High Street building is white. So some of the other buildings are not, obviously, but the intent would be to paint.
What do you guys think about PVC trim?
As long as it's the right thickness, I don't really have an issue with it.
I tend to agree with you. I think that using hardy trim would be a mistake. It really shatters.
Yeah.
I think you can glue the PVC.
I don't think many people use hardy trim. I think most people use PVC trim with hardy siding, you know. I'm not familiar with that brand that they're talking about, but I'm assuming it's a competitor of Hardy? I don't know.
Yeah, it is, it's like the number 2 player, kind of a distant 2.
Was it like Georgia Pacific or something like that before?
I think
and
it was
then-
Certain Teed, but
Certain Teed.
don't quote me, but,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
Oh.
certain seeds had lawsuits, right?
Yeah,
yeah, and it got spun off and it's made with fly ash, but it's the same general concept as Hardy. How it stands up, but I'm sure it's comparable.
well, the fly ash is like the boral, the true
Yeah.
exterior trim.
Right, yeah, similar, yeah.
Do you use that, the Boral product?
I've used the boral,
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
yeah. The carpenters like it because it works like wood.
Yeah.
It doesn't move around and flop around, you know.
What's the name?
Boral, B-O-R-A-L.
That's the company, it's called True Exterior, TRU, exterior trim. It makes siding. trim.
There are also some primed, treated pine, products out there that will last as long as PVC or boral, and, or real wood. From my opinion, the only downside to PVC is it will shrink and swell more. You know, my home, I have it trimmed with PVC, and it does fine, but it does definitely shrink and expand.
Have you run into Akoya wood?
I'm not familiar with that,
It's
no.
a European product. Essentially it's wood that looks like wood, feels like wood, acts like wood, but it's so full of chemicals. It lasts forever.
Yeah, I've heard of it, I've never used
We
it.
used it once, and didn't have any issues with it, nobody sick or anything.
Glow in the dark or anything?
Did they submit any pictures of the building that they're intending to do? I'm just curious
Yeah,
what,
it's the Webster Bank.
yeah, I know where the building, I was just curious, how much siding that we're looking at versus.
The intent is to do the entire building for that. Building, remain white and PVC if they need to do the trim. You did your questions correctly.
Well done.
So often. Anything else? I'll convey these comments to them and the thoughts on.
I guess the other question I would have, because there's usually two sides, like a smooth side and a embossed wood grain texture. And if the siding currently is smooth, I would hope that they would use the smooth
Gotcha.
side of the fiber cement.
Wood grain ones don't look realistic at all.
No, it's more of like a Dunkin' Donuts
Yeah.
kind of look.
Okay. Say that as well, that should be enough, and I'm sure, and that'll get shared, these comments too will get shared when we discuss it with, Farmington Historic District. Okay. Gonna jump right into the next one. This is the applicants with us this evening, Sue Gibo? Did I say that correct?
It's pronounced Jibo. It's French.
Okay. So the next application is for a sign at 769 Farmington Avenue. And so is a wood, as an all-wood sign, hand-painted, is that correct, Sue?
That's correct. It's painted by a professional sign maker.
This is also part of the Brick Walk Shops area. And the sign is going to be hanging in this location, is that correct?
That's correct. The distance between those two pillars is about, it's a little over 11 feet, and the sign is smaller than 4 feet across.
Samples of other signs in the. 42 by 1.5. 1.5 high.
Yeah.
Comments, all good?
Fine,
This is
no
going to,
comment.
this is going to Historic District as well, but it's in the center, so it has to.
We're the easy
thoughts
ones.
on it. All good?
I don't know what I don't know what the letters stand for, but other than that, I like it.
It's black lettering on white
No,
background.
no, no, I mean, what do they actually,
Really fast.
Bass Road or something like that?
No,
What
it's
does it mean?
Master's in Public Health, and the RD is registered dietitian. So I'm a dietitian in private practice.
Okay, good.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sue, as promised, 2 minutes in and out. You're
All
out.
right.
We'll see
So-
you Tuesday
Can I get off?
Yep, you're welcome to log out.
Thank you so
and
much. All right. Thank you, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
see you
Bye.
Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our kiosk, 25 South Main Street in Unionville. You'll recall that we had the joint meeting back in November, and we had Unionville Historic District members and our ADRC. And the project has evolved since then. We took all the comments in, and then Rose Ponte was successful in securing a grant with AARP. And we have embarked on some preliminary designs, and then what I have with me this evening is pretty much we're ready to go to construction level and start ordering all these materials. So what's before you is a site plan of this what we're referring to as the Pocket Park at New Britain Ave and 177. And there's the existing sidewalk that got poured at the time that they did all this work. And there's pads for 2 benches. So the 2 benches are going to be the typical black benches that we have in the Unionville area and even further up on 177. The bike rack is being included. Rose has been working for Economic Development Commission and also with Bruce here with the Bicycle Advisory Committee. So the bike rack was a key component to this, and given the proximity to the rails to trails, figured that that was a prudent addition to the area. We provided a sidewalk connection directly in from the intersection. It's not directly off the ramp due to electrical, traffic signals, poles, et cetera, so it is up just a bit. We've come in, and then the line in the center here is representation of the kiosk, which I'll get to in a minute. And we realized with our neighbors from New Horizons and really anyone coming in to walk, we couldn't leave them dead end into the kiosk and not a way around. Started playing around with different patterns and landed on a hexagon to try to give a nod to the ups and downs. And so the hexagon pattern, and if we have funding, the intent is to outline this in Belgian block. So this will all be poured concrete, and then the hex outlined in Belgian block if we can get the funding for that and the additional cost. So that's the layout. When we had met in November, we also talked about directional signs. Those are included as well at the end of the presentation. The layout had been provided, bless you. The sign, we evolved it. This is with a sign manufacturer. It's evolved from the SLR schematic drawing. And different varying toppers and options were provided. And it was presented to Unionville Historic. I apologize, Lisa, I should have introduced you at the top. Lisa Johnson is with us, chair of our Unionville Historic District. This was discussed with them 2 weeks ago now, I guess a week and a half ago now, with the Unionville Historic District. So they have seen this and offered their comments, and then Lisa is attending this evening as the liaison on their behalf so that we have consistency with the 2 committees. Unionville Historic District, of the options that have been provided, preferred the kiosk that had the bridge topper, again, to tie to the Unionville Bridge. They like the Welcome to Unionville portion of the sign will face the intersection with the thought that we'll add a note at the bottom that says informational sign on reverse or something, something to that effect, so that someone coming in from the intersection that isn't familiar understands that there's directional information on the other side. So this will be the side that faces north and towards the river. There will be a QR code. These are just some notations that I made regarding height and sizing of all this. It's a little tall, it's a little too big for what we need and for being readily visible for someone coming up to it, to being able to access. Again, we have to make sure that the QR code's reachable from somebody in a wheelchair. There's just some different things in massing that we're looking at. The schematic of it, I dropped into a photo. This is just dropped in before the hex design came up, but it gives you a general idea of what we're looking at. The directional signs, these mimic what was discussed with everyone in November. Really no change here other than the overall height. We're going to drop these down as well. They don't need to be as tall, because it's not a street light, it's not a traffic signal, so we're going to drop those down, maintain the minimum 7-foot clear distance that's needed for ADA, again, ADA standards for that head height, and then put the signs. There'll be 3 4-top directional signs on any given post, and they right now are programmed to be located for our crossing of 177. So crossing on the west side, right adjacent to where the parking is for the Soma Movement Studio and the physical therapy place. And the directional sign on the east side is going to be back where the trail actually comes in. It's not going to be at the push button. There isn't room there. We wanted them back off the road a little bit, so folks stopping to look, orient themselves, aren't doing it right up on the edge of 177. So we want these back on the trail, but still visible and usable, both folks on the trail and anyone on the sidewalk. There, right now, is the intent that there will be a QR code on those directional posts. So the posts will be, they'll match the site bases that we have in Unionville. They're just, like I said, going to be shorter. They don't need to be quite as tall. And this way, the directional signs will be more visible to those walking and on bicycle. That's where we are with this. So we're looking for some feedback. You're the last group we need to speak with. Unionville Historic. Time flies when I'm having fun. I think it was last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago. And then TPZ was just this past Monday. And then you folks this evening. And then we've already ordered the benches and the bike racks, because those are standard that we use in Farmington. We're looking for some feedback, hopefully agreement with our Unionville Historic District on what they were liking with the kiosk. It will take any additional comments that you folks have, get them incorporated, and then the intent is to order it so we can get it in the ground. Rose is looking forward to trying to do a ribbon cutting before Thanksgiving if possible.
What material are those?
It's going to be a steel frame. It'll be black, yes.
And the braze, is it 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional?
It'll be the width of the paneling, which is...
Well, say it's 4 inches, but am I looking at a 4-inch wide bridge with all those pieces?
There's probably, you're not going to see there's not going to be typical cross bracing. You will see the bracing, so what you're looking at in a 2D plane, you're not necessarily going to see the...
But in a 3D plane, I'd see both sides looking through it. It's open, right?
I believe so. That's the inside, yeah. Let me...
So it's essentially a giant tinker toy, right? I mean, conceptually.
Well, it sounds like it's plates.
All right,
I
well,
don't know
let's
if
see.
it's plates or if they're...
I've
Yeah,
got
that's what I'm trying
the sign bender on, so we're going to... Craig, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you answer the question? Did you hear the question and understand what they're asking about the bridge? If it's...
Yes. So essentially, it's going to boil down to how wide we can go on the top, but it was going to be on 3 levels or 3 planes, if you will, of material, and is most likely going to be steel on the outside. And I was thinking either an aluminum or an unfinished looking steel in the middle, or something with maybe a brushed look to it.
I'm lost.
So you won't be seeing through it. There's going to be a solid piece between the 2 sides, is what you're saying.
According to the drawing, but we haven't had any conversations saying otherwise up until now. So these are just loose concepts up to this point. Where anybody else's thoughts are, I haven't heard anything otherwise.
So do you folks do you think there's a preference for Unionville Historic with respect to that? Camera froze. Okay.
He's thinking really.
She's thinking really hard.
Move.
Oh, I'm having a tough time hearing you guys. I don't know if you're asking me.
Yeah. For me.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the
We're asking
question?
if you can see, if you can see through the bridge, is it open in between all the pieces, or is there a plate in the middle of it?
As far as where we left off recently, there was going to be a plate in the middle of it. I mean, it's not necessary for the construction, but again, these are just design concepts and we haven't really fine-tuned that part. So that's up to you guys at this point.
I think it'd be nice if you could see through it, so that it was,
See through it, you'll add an amazing amount of strength to that entire sign. I think it would be very dramatic.
yeah. Because otherwise, it's just otherwise it's kind of like a bridge being drawn on a sign,
It's a
as
painted,
opposed to a bridge that's a three-dimensional sculpture, which would be much more interesting.
It definitely would. And initially we were considering like a brushed steel in the center there, but only to give the illusion of a, cap to the kiosk. But I do like the open idea as well.
Is there any illumination or anything?
No, we've been asked that, given the ambient light in the area and the traffic, either the street lights there and the buildings, no, there's no additional lighting. The rails to trails dawn to dusk anyhow, so that's it.
The color, not that we need to do this, but the bridge itself was originally silver, then it was painted army green. It's being redone now, and it's going to be permanently black, the entire bridge, after this project is finished next year. If our intention is for people to look at this and say, oh, there's the bridge, and then they're looking a few hundred feet behind it and seeing the bridge, it's going to be a big black bridge. So my question is, as much as I would love to see it restored to its original beautiful silver, that isn't going to happen. So I guess, I'm fine with a brushed gray or whatever, because I don't know whether this matters, but if we want it to be similar to the bridge that's there, then we might want to consider having it black, the entire thing black, and matching the sides and the base. So I think that's a discussion for us, but that's just kind of, I think, the bridge is half black and half white right now, but it will be all black eventually, so.
And the benches and the bike rack are
Will all be
black,
black.
right?
Right.
Yeah, I think the metal should be the same as the bike rack.
black bridge would be fine.
Yeah, I would agree.
Overhang and it's being able to see through, you'll recognize it.
Yeah, people will make the connection if it's black, I think.
Do you know if the bridge has any lighting as part of it?
I don't believe so.
No?
Wanted them to install electricity above the tube as you go in. The bridge is kind of, it's kind of like this, it's not like this, so, because we're planning signage, Unionville on the bridge, hopefully, if that works out, but I wanted to have it lit up for Christmas with lights, and electricity is not something the state was interested in doing for us, but someday we'll figure it out, but, so I think three-dimension and as much and black sounds good to me if everyone's.
Lisa, do you know the point size of the text?
I got the sign guy.
I don't. I don't know anything about the sign. I know it's in the process of being created. So I think that's the sign. I think it's Craig, the sign maker's job to assist with that. Do you have any thoughts about that?
With
size.
regards to lettering size at this point,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, as it's scaled now, this is obviously has to be adjusted per the notes on the drawing here. So once
Yeah.
we figure out the final size of it, everything will be scaled proportionally back from there.
yep, yep.
I know,
I
but
can
at
tell
some
you
point you
what
get
it
to
is.
proportions where people can't
And
see.
now, for that drawing, the welcome to text is about 4.5 inches, so 470 point.
Yep,
It's the little type on the left side drawing.
And that is all of the text and everything in this concept is well, just that. It's just conceptual. We have not finalized any verbiage. The QR code is just a test, you know, the 3 panels along the bottom, there was ideas for it, but nothing has been finalized with regards to that. But, you know, as far as having it perfectly legible, that will not be questionable by any means.
but the welcome to Unionville will be seen by people driving on the street or walking down the street.
Yes.
But the material on the opposite side will be seen by people who are either cycling or walking. So they're two different audiences. You'd want the welcome to Unionville to be visible from the street as someone's walking or driving or biking by. But the material on the back is something that people will be seeing as they stand there. Is that correct, Shannon? Is that,
Correct, exactly. You want to be able to see welcome to Unionville from the intersection, and then the flip side, you will be standing there reading it like you would a rail, basically it's a more elaborate rails to trails kiosk board, so that there's the mapping, there's the QR code, and some directional information. I believe the intent was to do a historic panel too, with some information either generally on Unionville around the bridge.
My concern is a lot of pedestrians and bikers, if they're on any kind of trip, aren't wearing their reading glasses. So I just want to make sure that the
Got it.
text
So it's
is
not 12
large
points.
enough.
You don't want to, we
I don't
want
want
it
to
probably
see 10,
like,
12, 11, 13 point type.
so we want
Yeah.
16, probably.
As big
Got
as
it.
possible.
18.
Yeah.
Hey,
We can all see
Sheldon.
it.
Okay.
I don't
I
ride
can't
with
go
it.
in here. I had to, I'm like, darn it, I left the ones I really wanted, but I had these, so I get it. So, okay, understood. So 18, 20 point.
Whatever works.
But yeah, but not, you're not the 12.
right?
Okay, no, that's a valid point. I hadn't given that a thought until I was gonna be in that situation. So, okay. So the north side, we need at least then the 18 to 20 range. Got it. Greg, do you think that's doable?
I don't see that being an issue. And again, it's all about what we decide to put on there for information. And I'm sure once it gets to that point, we can backtrack from what makes sense legibility wise.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
The poles, can we see the picture of the?
Yeah,
The directionals, thank you.
Those are showing a fluted base, sorry, these are showing a fluted base, and they're not, there is a clamshell around them in the downtown area, but it's more of a smooth, there's some articulation to it, but it's not fluted as shown here. They will match.
The colors of the top part, the different colors, are those color coded for a reason, or?
Yep,
they
I
want-
believe they tie to all of the indicators on Rose Ponte's Explore Farmington page. Rose, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Rose.
Hi, everybody.
So those color codes are gonna match your Explore Farmington page, so that retail shows to the same retail color and restaurant shows to the same restaurant color on your Explore Farmington?
That was our intent, but again, we're very, very much open to suggestions from ADRC and from Unionville Historic District. So we're open, you know, that's why we're here tonight, to really hear what you guys think we should do. Part of the AARP grant is such that when we are doing directional signage, that we're really looking at that older adult and how many different clues they need. And so it's not only for decorative purposes, but it's also because some people will see the different colors, and that will make it easier for them to distinguish between different amenities. But we thought that we would match it with the colors of Explore Farmington, but by any means, it does not have to be that way. We're really open to your suggestions, and we want to make sure that, you know, it all complements each other, but it's really giving the story that you guys want.
That we don't have to.
Right, that's the map that's gonna launch. The QR code launches for maps,
Parking.
so it might as, the color coding might as well match.
Yeah, the way,
Anything else is gonna be
right, the
confusing.
way it's going to work when you go up to the kiosk and you take your phone and scan the QR code, then it's going to take you on your phone right to you are here. And then it will show you the different restaurants and shops and even first aid if you need it and you need to go to the priority urgent care. It's really trying to drive people to see that Unionville is a thriving little center. And so that is the goal. And so that's what we're hoping to do. But if you'll notice back on the kiosk, there's also going to be the picture on the top there is actually a picture of the, you know, Explore Farmington map, because some people may not have a cell phone and may not have the QR code. So we want to give them both options. And I'm having actually a little seminar at the senior center, and I'm trying to get one over at the library, teaching people how do you use a QR code. And so it could be kind of a fun thing to have. A lot of people, especially now during COVID, are used to using the QR code for menus at different restaurants and things like that. So we wanted to have both a regular traditional map and also something that's more interactive for the user. But both the QR code will take you to the Explore Farmington map that's there. It's just that the QR code will make it a little bit much more interactive. You could kind of move your little person to, you know, you're walking from where you are to, let's say, you're going to George's. So you'll be able to.
Rose, if I could just interject for a moment,
Sure.
the map on the stand is about 10 times larger than the map on the telephone. So as much information as you can get on that map, the better off I think you'll be. Some of us are inveterate map readers and go right to that. I wouldn't ever think of using a QR code when I've got a map in front of me, because I can.
No, I
explore
agree. That map is going to be very important, the one that's on the kiosk itself. But, and I happen to agree with you. I wouldn't even want to do the QR code myself. However, all of my children and grandchildren would not even think of looking at the map, and they would go to the QR code. So that's why we're trying to be able to, you know, try to reach every different demographic.
It allows people to step away from the sign and look at the map on their phones. And,
you're right.
wait, you know, but
So I'll call your kids.
Yeah. I'm looking at the map. I'm not using the QR code myself.
They'll all be looking at their own phones.
There you go. That's true.
Rose, one question for you on the map. Is it, changeable? I mean, businesses change so often in Unionville Center that, I mean, that's one of the positives about the QR code is it'll be kept up to date, but If you print
Right.
a map with business names on it,
Well, no, the
No.
map won't have necessarily the business names because exactly what you're saying, the names can change and businesses can change, but it will have symbols. So if you ever go on the Explore Farmington Places map, each of those, what looks like they're different colors, they're actually icons for services, restaurant, shops. So that's what it's going to show. It's not going to show the name of a particular, because it, you know, it was Tap Rock 6 months ago and now it's El Puente. So because of that, we don't want to. But most of the time, if you have, like, for example, Pomona Pete's, it may not be Pomona Pete's, but that space most likely will be redeveloped into a different restaurant. So we're going to use those symbols, but the nice part about it, and Craig, if you can kind of tell the committee how you're going to do those types of signs. One of the things that, you know, I loved about Craig, he was able, what he does, maybe he can explain the process, but it's not going to be like a poster board. It's going to be, Craig, maybe you could take over here and explain how you're going to do each of those maps, and so that it doesn't get ruined by weather and things like that.
Sure, yeah, happy to. I mean, the plan was to do on that side of the kiosk, each panel was going to be its own dimensional panel, folded aluminum base panel that mounts directly via hardware to the base panel. So each one of those that you're looking at is removable. And I mean, we're not going to say changeable necessarily, but can be replaced if necessary without too much hassle and no obstruction to the main sign itself. And everything is done exterior grade materials. It's meant to be outside, taking on the elements, the sun, etc.
What about graffiti? If it's, I mean, how does somebody clean paint?
Farmington in Unionville?
Hey, that's a rough town.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I'm
I'm just-
afraid, yeah, spray paint's not going to wipe off easily, but any graphic work we do has, it has exterior rated over laminate. It's essentially a clear coat meant for it, you know, whether or not it's going to get beaten up if you go about it with some paint thinner, you know, it's probably not going to last you 10 years. It's Mark II. But again, we can work around that, even replace the graphic portion of each panel if we need to, without having to replace the entire sign.
the box does say that sign.
I'm probably in the minority in this comment. I'll go with the group, but I don't love the literalness of the bridge that's in the top.
Unionville Historic across the board loved it.
Yeah,
Bruce and I,
just saying.
I wanted a clean, and I wanted a lattice at the bottom to
Yeah.
give a nod to, nope,
Yeah, I saw
Union-
another earlier
Mhm.
rendering that had a sort of a truss at the bottom.
a little lattice.
X,
Yep.
it just kind of nods to it. I don't.
Nope,
Well,
Unionville
well-
Historic loved the bridge topper, so here we
It does
are.
seem a little silly that you're gonna be looking at a bridge with the bridge
With the
behind
bridge,
you.
yeah.
The bridge is right
Past
there.
the-
You're gonna have to.
But I think if there's the history of the bridge there on it, it might be a nice tie-in, you know, and I hope there's room on the sign to talk a little bit about the history when we have the map and the QR code.
Oh, yeah, that sign, that one right there is intended for a historical narrative.
The three X's below, is that showing the welcome to Unionville with the three yellow X's?
No, so the welcome to Unionville is, and even the script isn't, I mean, we could change the font style, so if we don't like the script, or we didn't get into font styles, typeface, height, all that. Certainly this pattern underneath can be.
Absolutely, but that's why we're here tonight, because we really want you guys to direct us.
Bolts here, we could leave, we could just do an artistic squiggle. I mean, it looks like
There, the
water.
font then. Just so that it's clear to see.
Right, the font just needs to be legible.
Well, any kind of the history, I mean, the nuts, the bolts, that's really, the surrounding area was really where all those things were manufactured, both on that side of the bridge and across where the stuff is now. So any of that, Craig, and this is nice work. I know Craig's work from Torrington for working with him over the years, and he does a great job. I have every confidence that him and Rose are gonna make something that's gonna look really nice here. I think any kind of font that looks classic for us, but again, Unionville is industrial. It's very, look at our Stop and Shop as opposed to every other Stop and Shop in the world. So, clearly anything that celebrates the industrial past, the bricks, and the nuts and the bolts kind of thing, I think would celebrate the history. And you're right in the history, you're right in the heart of where that history was. So that's why I really do love the bridge at the top, because really, the focus of the bridge, I mean, if you were to ask anyone, about the history of Unionville, it always comes back to the bridge and the flood. And that particular bridge survived that flood, which many people don't realize. A lot of things stacked against it, a lot of things went around it, but the bridge itself, stood the test of time. And so to have it there on the sign, to me, it celebrates kind of longevity and the history of Unionville as well. That's my 2 cents, so.
Nice.
Thank you, looks good.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments we want to share? Yeah, we covered a lot, so.
Yeah.
All right, we will get this finalized, and hopefully we'll all see an unveiling here in the fall.
Yeah. Good to see you, everybody. I'm going to take off now. Take
Bye,
care.
Lisa. Take care, bye, Rose.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Transition to Unionville's big project. Pass these out. Good evening, and thank you for your contribution to the community by sitting on this board. I know it's a lot of work after a full day. My name is Michael Stein. I'm principal at Stein Trust Architects in Norwalk, Connecticut. And with me tonight is Brian Kay from SLR and Mark Manchester from Vision Properties. I thought I'd start my presentation by just going back in time, a little history of the project. This rendering that's on the board was first presented to this board in 2008. In that time, we proposed a project here that was this building, renovating what we call the Powerhouse, and then an additional 80 units behind it, so it was a 92-unit proposal. Flash forward to 2015. I guess that, one of the reasons that project didn't happen is that this is a brownfield site. It's a very complex development project, and the cost of the cleanup is a substantial hurdle. So in 2015, a new developer came to a project of 268 units. That project was approved. The rendering from 2008 remained the sort of the symbol and vision for the street facade of the property. And here tonight, because we're about to file for building permits for this first building and for the Powerhouse, and we need your input. So the program hasn't changed. Same number of units, same basic design of this building, same parking. There are some minor tweaks to the design that I will get into, but first I thought I'd introduce Brian, who's going to talk about the landscaping and site lighting. And then I will get into the details.
Share any changes since 2015, so feel free. So we're talking about this building permit basically entails building number 1 and the powerhouse laid out there. If you guys have any specific questions about landscaping, I can take you through those, but this is our landscape plan for the whole site, but specifically want to highlight about what we're talking about tonight, and that's the 2 buildings in yellow. So one of the changes is to the light poles. So back in 2015, the pole on the left was what was approved. We're just updating it with a newer fixture, a little bit more simple, I would say, than the ornate detail on the left. And then just updating you again on anything that changed. So the bollards also changed. They actually don't make that bollard on the left anymore. We're going with a Guardco black simple bollard on the right. Cut sheets for both of them. The poles themselves are actually very similar to the Farmington poles that, you know, will be right down the road. The lamps are up above, and then the right hand shows silver, but those are going to be black, 42 inches high. Then again, so just what changed, so with the updated light fixtures, there was overspill over the property lines in 2015, so these new fixtures have corrected that. There's no overspill onto the school property or outside any property line.
These are all LEDs?
Yes.
And color temperature is?
I believe it was 3,000.
So can we, Shannon, just, I don't know how much, we've got a mixed crew here. Some of us were here when you guys presented back in 2008 and 2015, and some of us weren't. So, I think Shannon, you can just tell us what we're supposed to be looking at tonight, so everybody's kind of aware, because the basic project's already been approved, correct?
Correct. So, going back in 2015, this project shown in the information shared is what was approved. It's 19 Perry Street, Charles House. The terms are used interchangeably to refer to the same project. It went through ADRC, TPD, and then wetlands. Approvals all done. The approvals have been reviewed and reapproved as required by general statute. Now that there is a new developer in play, ready to advance and ready to start construction, as they noted on these 2 buildings that are in yellow. The requirement with ADRC back in 2015 is the conceptual sketches have been approved. Because of the size and really enormity of the project, all the construction details that you folks like to look at had not been developed at that time. The architectural was more schematic. So one of the conditions was that they come back to ADRC with basically the construction level details. What are your windows going to look like? What are your doors going to look like? So that's where we are with this, and as they indicated, they are ready to, if we get to a consensus, ready to proceed to building permit for these 2 buildings. There are 3 other buildings. There's a building 2, building 3, and building 4. Building 4 runs parallel to the property line with Union School. So those buildings will all come later. Right now, there's environmental work and discussion still ongoing with DEP regarding the property because of the past. This property is the felt manufacturing facility. So it's just these 2 buildings, and it's back before you really for kind of the fine detail and getting ready to say, okay, they're going to building permit, and this is shovel in the ground, and away we go. Helpful?
Very.
Okay.
Thanks.
Of course.
What's the
Sorry to interrupt.
What's the intent as far as scope of this first phase of the project? Because one of the huge aspects of this, when we reviewed it the last time in 2015 was the access to the river and all of the amenities that were going with this. If they're only doing the first two buildings, is any of that gonna happen?
No, we're not only doing the first two buildings. Our intention to build out the whole project that we are trying to get going.
They're trying to get stuff moving. Part of, it's hung up with DEP. So their ability to proceed is hinging with DEP right now. And
That's really
finalizing.
not a problem. We've got the preliminary approval. Maybe Mark, you can speak a little bit about, the status of the DEP.
Yes, we've been waiting, we got our stormwater permit, so we're basically good to go. We've filed our part one with the Connecticut DEP. We filed our part two, so we're waiting on them. It's all gonna go at the same time. We're funded for the whole project. We just wanna get these two buildings going right away. Our hope is to get these two going. As we get our final part two approval, then we can start with the remediation. So the remediation has to go before we construct the other building.
And the
They go hand in hand.
remediation is all basically here.
It's here,
Right.
but it's
So
already.
there's no remediation at
Building one in the power plant, so we're allowed to proceed really now. We can start now, pending a building permit.
Will these be finished and people living there while you're still taking the contaminated soil out from the back?
Well, we're not taking the contaminant soil out. It's all being on site. The whole site will be
Preparing
on site,
it.
so everything stays there. Yes. Building one is for sale townhomes. So the hope is to build those, sell those. We have to have the parking, all the parking has to be done for building one before they will give us a certificate of occupancy.
And again, I'm a newbie here. Is building one, is this a new building?
Anything on
new
site.
construction, yes. No, this is not. This is Powerhouse.
This is the only thing that's existing.
Exactly.
If you walk over there, that's literally the only thing that's there.
Okay, yeah, no, I actually haven't,
There's nothing else over there.
I haven't ever been on the site, so.
It's a large site, 27 acres. It's on the Farmington River. It's a very complex development deal. There's also, the water company has significant wells on the property. Coordination between DEP, public health, the water company is a real challenge. We're really close to finding that.
And have you been involved in it for the last 15 years? You've been-
I have.
Wow.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, it's like,
So we're gonna be, for landscaping, and I think you've started this year, there was something approved, and you're gonna go through what's different than approved, what you've
So
tweaked.
the landscaping itself, hasn't changed over
Okay.
time. I was gonna say, if you had specific questions about individual plants or the look of certain items, foundation plantings on building number one are gonna be right up against Perry Street. We have like a green space that mimics the green,
Yeah.
in front of the powerhouse.
It's already been improved, though.
Yes.
correct.
So I would think that we will, focus on what's new.
What's changed?
We went in great detail back
Let's
the
talk
last
about
time.
the brick detail. Can we do that? Well, that's right. It's
Shouldn't
what
we
is-
get there?
Let him go through the site stuff first.
Let them get there.
If there's not, so the site stuff is related to landscaping and lighting, am I
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
And let's proceed through that.
Okay, so landscaping, there's no changes.
Correct.
The lighting, we were getting there.
the lighting, we're pretty much through, those two fixtures changed, and overall, our lighting approach has improved. I have no spill over property lines.
One thing to add about the change to the lighting, it was also in coordination with the building mounted lighting that's, proposed for building one. So there's a stylistic connection between those.
Well, I would agree that the original fixture is kind of weirdly Gothic, which is like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, he points to me, I point to them. We have no idea how that thing got in there, but it got in there.
So I think your new choice is more appropriate
Yeah,
with what's going
yeah.
on in the,
Yeah. People grow, people learn.
Are there cut sheets of the building lights, or
Yes,
are they
so
part of?
they're part of.
So they're part of the
presentation.
building, the discussion with the building?
Yeah, they're shown on the architecture.
Perfect, okay. So this is it then for site lighting?
And I think it's important to point out, these are, obviously now LED, so it's far better,
Did you do anything?
construction
It
and
looks great.
cut off.
It's nice. A rustic character, yeah.
Black, yep, all black. It's new black.
Done orange.
Brian?
I think so.
Okay, so, start by, let's go to the next slide. The Powerhouse is an interesting, very interesting building, approximately 1,500 square foot footprint. The original Powerhouse, incredibly, constructed amazing. The way it was designed, there's a sluice that runs under the building. That's a massive concrete foundation that continues on under some 15 feet underground, eventually leading to the river. Now not functioning right, because there used to be canals that fed this sluice that ran under the building that turned a big turbine. The slab on the ground floor is 3 feet thick. It's unbelievable. So the plan for this building was never really fleshed out in 2015. There's a note on the site plan that says, to be renovated, fitness, but we never really even measured it, we never really got into the details of it. Now we have a, very specific idea on how to reuse this building.
May I add that there was a lot of talk that this particular part of the building was going to be used as a public space, that we could, that the community could use as perhaps art exhibits, those kind of things. We didn't know over that, we didn't know about that as well, but there was a lot of public talk about that. There was discussion about that. I just want to make that noted, because it seems like this now is kind of, will it be one big open space where you can have a big party or a big gathering, or is it more, this is all closed in and smaller?
The central idea of the build, of the, is to make the ground floor the sales office. So it's an open space, but it's really where the business gets done. And the second floor is a on-site property manager's apartment, up to 268. That's how we're using that. There are opportunities in the balance of the project for spaces that are going to be larger than this, that can be, certainly be happy to discuss for public use. And so the central plan is we add stair, we put a new floor structure, the volume of this thing is 30 feet tall, so there's plenty of, the space, the office area is going to have a 15-foot high ceiling, really dramatic space, the windows are very tall, and future large blow-up photographs. I've worked with the museum, they gave me some really interesting old photographs, images of the past, features and cities blow up. And, obviously we have to line it with plate, sheetrock, the interior. There are pictures in the handout that show existing condition of the inside. It's kind of a mess. Windows are Pella panel series 250. And go to the next floor, I can show the apartment for the on-site manager. Open space, very sort of basic plan. The condition of the exterior is pretty good. There's going to be some pointing issues. There's some issues with the roof. You have to build new scuppers to deal with drainage. But for the most part, the building was built so well, it's in pretty good shape. Exterior is in pretty good shape. Facade, canopy, two projected canopies. One with a little sign that says "Welcome to the Charles House," and the other canopy is the entrance to the unit up on the second floor. We're also providing some kind of very subtle frame lighting of accentuate the architecture of the building. Okay. And some pictures of the condition that it's in now. It needs work, but It's a very, basically, it's a solid structure.
So you mentioned the windows just briefly in your comments, being Pella something or other, but I don't see any of that information on the drawing. Is there nothing that says anything about the window?
I have basic cut sheets, for Pella windows, if you like that, but they're,
What are the grills?
What are the grills, yeah?
they're interior internal grills.
And they're black?
Yeah, it's all black, yep.
So it's not simulated divided light, because that's usually what we require.
Nope, they're not simulated divided light.
Wow. Black interior grill, when you look at the window, you don't
see
the grill. Look like a sheet of glass.
We've got a sheet of glass, yeah. The lines on the inside.
Because that was never approved back in 2015. Right. So, I mean, I don't think we've approved anything that's not simulated divided light. So I can think of.
I don't know that, Shannon, this is a question for you. I don't know that any of the materials on the exterior were approved, right? And that was waiting for now.
Well, and I wasn't here.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So all I have are the meeting notes from the ADRC meeting, and the only architectural drawings I had were the ones that went in the email to you folks, and there were like 4 sheets of schematics. So there were never found anything with any strong details and specifications at that time from 2015.
I think that's my recollection, is we didn't.
I don't remember getting in that depth at all.
No.
I think that's why we're here today.
Yeah,
Right.
this whole thing with the,
Photograph, you see all the divisions and stuff.
whole thing,
I think I've got the construction drawings loaded in if you
whole
want.
thing.
So,
we have
Completely.
well, I've got them here if we wanted
I
to.
don't think that really changes the issue yet.
Yeah.
No.
Sales.
No.
But-
Everything's gonna change the exposure of the foundation. We're filling up against the, so you're not gonna see half of that. For the grade.
Cool little building. It's a very cool little building.
Yeah. It's about potential. All right, so on to the building 1. So again, we're here to talk about it for change. In terms of the plans, the one, I think, significant change that we created habitable basements. No basements in the original design, but now we've made them habitable. We've created large sunken yards, active fencing along the streetscape, big windows, but those become, desirable bonus rooms.
Are those on the site plan?
Site plan.
You're talking about wells, right? They're in the yard, so they would need to be on the site plan, correct?
Correct. And they are. They're on, that's changed, so they're on the new site.
Yeah. Well, you could put it up there, but I think we should see where they are.
We have to go back to, do we have that site plan?
Yeah, it's, that first page. With the yellow, 2 yellow buildings.
Hard to see, but they're here. Another, a good way to look at it would be if we went to the building elevation. So, well, if you want to see the plan, so there's.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
These points right here.
They're along the street.
Yes, exactly. And they have aluminum fence, black aluminum fence, decorative fence.
You're 8 feet deep.
7.
Well, the door's 6'8".
I have it. Actually, in the construction drawing, there's a section that's included in this.
The barrier for this. Anyway, they're deep.
What's the offset from the sidewalk the well. What are you looking at, and as you walk by, you're looking at fencing?
Well, let's go to the elevations so we can see that, and it'd be bigger on the screen. Why not? Okay, so, that's the streetscape. You see the, this is a,
It was zoom in.
yeah, so then this is what the wells look like.
So the fence just goes parallel to the street, it doesn't return, right, because that's how you climb out.
So it's open on the side?
It's open on one side.
As well as about 10 feet wide.
Is that code?
It depends on which unit. These units are about 10 feet wide, 17 feet. I mean, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Brosco escape wells, right? The plastic. That is what, the most basic idea of how you make a basement a habitable space. These are, these are more modeled after, if you're in New York, you see the stoop going up and you see the stairs sneak down below them to access that half sunken level. That's basically what we're trying to do. Well, yeah, this is a basement. Right? Yeah. But the scale of the space that window faces out is substantial. I think it's going to make that a very desirable bonus as opposed to a basement. So it's a very important value added.
Wouldn't it be a code issue if it's open on the side with a 6-foot drop?
There's steps down.
They're like, if you stepped off that.
Code compliant. We've reviewed this with our code consultant. These are definitely code compliant.
Yeah, it means code going up, not going down.
I think we gotta worry about that.
Yeah, okay. It just seems dangerous.
You can ponder that later.
Okay.
All right, so that's the big change for the floor plan. The facade changes are minor but important. You no longer have archtop windows on the A unit types. Really the only graphic change. Bay window is the same bay window, the big corner bay window is the same bay window that we had originally. So most of the compositional elements I have not changed.
And those are real cedar shingles on the
Yes.
portion that's cedar shingles?
So that's an interesting historic. The original 2008 design, I have that original rendering, has cedar shingle. It's subtle, but it's...
Yeah.
And then in 2015, the developer went to a white clapboard. Now the new developer agrees that that's a nicer, I think, in terms of the material palette, works better with brick.
Are they stained? Is it natural? Is
They're
it?
going to be, clear steel.
Okay.
And all the trim is black, the window frames are black, except for the two B units, which are these two. These have white trim, white columns, and white bays, white roof, metal roof. So the big change roofing. Roofing hasn't changed. Same glass, slate shingle.
You just said something about metal roof?
Just on, sorry, where is it? There.
Oh,
Yeah,
lower.
yeah, okay. That's the only metal roof. We are proposing, as opposed to a clay brick, this is called a Stocast brick. It's a resin product, part of a wall system that I can give you details on. Set with a mortar bed that's this color. This, largely because seemed to relate well with the Powerhouse. And we like the fact that it's a sort of variety of color, natural to it. I can give you the cut sheet on, there's some information in the handout, I just today was able to get.
Is it essentially an EFIS system?
It's an EFIS system, right. Stocast.
They're individual.
It's set like, it's built like tile almost, right? There's multiple layers of different different parts of the system. The last layer before this is a bonding and pointing mortar, it's called, and then these are set like tiles.
And where do the windows set in relation to
They're
this?
still 4-inch sets. They have, this product has corner pieces to turn. Heads, we have that thing. We can do a sold, of course, at the head. The sills will even have a brick look. I'm pleased with the product. I think it's, very convincing. It's, it's got all the, proper NFPA approvals. I didn't mention that we're not building this out of wood. These are, we're doing an ICF construction for these buildings. Spectacular, I think. Insulated concrete forms, so we get great sound ratings, great seismic, excellent thermal mass to the exterior wall. So it's a really, an upgrade to the structural system. And this system on the foam of the ICF is a natural kind of symbiotic way to construct.
Are there expansion joints with this?
Yes, there are. And they're
Are they?
on the,
So one thing I think we're probably gonna ask you guys to do is to do when you do the Stop and Shop, and
What kind of call here?
some product with painting the brick on.
I'm sorry.
When they originally were doing Stop and Shop,
Right.
some of these guys will remember,
Right.
we were all around. The first building we found, Stop and Shop came and wanted to use, it was either still or drive it,
Right.
but it was literally painted version of
That's
brick.
the stencil system.
Right. And one thing we asked them to do was show us a building that we could go look at.
Right.
Where this was actually installed.
Right.
Because they told us how convincing it was.
Right.
It was,
And you could see it from 3 blocks away.
it was that place
a
in
painted-
Wolcott, right? I still
Right.
remember driving there.
Near the,
Almost went off the road.
And
near
Central
the
product
Peter
is
Paul factory or
Yeah,
something.
Not, this is a much superior product to the stencil product. Is there a building that I can point to? We're trying to find one. There are plenty in Europe if you want to go to Germany. It's where this.
Buy the tickets, we'll go.
Yeah. Mark? What else?
You mentioned the sills, and your elevation, they're drawn as a white box, like a precast?
Yeah.
So will they be like a sort of a limestone-looking finish?
Yes, it's not going to be limestone.
Right, no.
Not concrete, no.
It's the same system,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it'll be limestone colored, right?
So just back to comments, I mean, I think the brick is so important that we really would like to see if there's a project somewhere.
Yeah.
Within 60 miles or something.
We'll do what we do the best we can to find one. There might be.
Or even,
Put up a
you have
test
to do a
panel.
mock-up somewhere, I don't know, you know?
That's not a bad idea.
You know, I mean, if you're doing unconventional construction, I don't know who your contractor is, it's almost like you wanna
See it too.
build a little sectional wall somewhere so everybody knows how a window gets installed, how a window gets flashed, caulked, where it doesn't get caulked, weeps, expansion joints, some of that kind of stuff you might wanna mock up somewhere on the site to make sure you figure it out before you go build a whole building and then realize, oh, that doesn't work. Right, I'm just saying.
It's a cost issue on not doing real brick.
It's a cost issue. This product is 50% of the cost of the project.
Powerhouse has some really elegant brickwork. And I don't see that through the rest. I'm wondering if you would, particularly this block, at the gable roof, if you
responses, that wasn't changed. That was always, the nature of that building.
A lot of things haven't changed. But when we're here, I'm wondering if you could rethink that, because it's quite nice. This is relatively flat in comparison.
Look at it.
I did just want to circle back on the windows. I do think we need to see a cut sheet of the Pella 250 series.
You know if Abe's still around?
Excuse me?
Abe Calvert, is he still around?
Abe is still alive. He's in, Santa Fe. He has his own gallery in Santa Fe. I talk to him once a year. We haven't.
You haven't been using them, though?
Not lately.
I saw the rendering come up, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, because I haven't used them or talked to him in a long time as well.
He's still in good health and mostly doing his art, which is really quite spectacular. Check him out on the internet. It's really
cool,
beautiful stuff.
We'll have to do that.
Now, in this cut sheet, just glancing at it, not that we necessarily care about the inside, but, it says white interiors with Duracolor exterior finishes. You're sure that they can make a black mullion? Because the insides are white. So they're probably just gonna have the one face be black, and then the rest of that mullion extrusion is actually white.
Well, I think you're probably gonna have a hard time getting non-simulated divided lights through our committee.
Well,
This would be
the dark colors, just
to do that. I think the whole project.
Lines, very flat.
What if the grills were applied in the outside?
Well, that's what we're looking for.
That's, yeah,
That's then a stimulated divided light. You get the grills on the outside, would that be acceptable?
We'd have to see it. Yeah, if they match, the width or whatever, they look like a putty glazed window. That's what we're looking for, right?
It's flat. Windows on the outside.
Well, they make putty glazed version looking ones.
But there's those real flat ones too, that are almost like paper thin on the outside. We're not talking about that.
Right.
Right.
We need to come up with a window that you're convinced works.
Yeah.
There are definitely some vinyl windows with simulated divided lights that aren't a big reach cost-wise over internal GBGs. There's some that are in downtown Unionville, so.
Get there.
So Mike, looking at some of the details, this is 8/12/15.
That was the original submission. We've included those for comparison.
Got it.
You're not doing the arches, as you said. You're not doing the arches. So this doesn't apply anymore, right?
Again, historic.
Okay.
What's the material of these doors, the exterior doors?
I think it's fiberglass. Yeah, there's lighting, the pictures show the decorative lighting, fountains and,
They had us drive by this project, and it was terrible. Like, 2015. This looks much nicer than that. see it.
Tiny, but in these old elevations, you had larger windows in this corner piece, more.
Well, they're the same width now, they just don't have the
No, but no, because they're all double.
It's more trim and less glass. Correct, Miles? Yeah.
Right, yeah, these, in fact, same thing in the rendering. I mean, these look more like, you know, factory punched, you know, windows, openings, where now they're, which is more like the.
We didn't have that in the old one?
No.
You had three doubles.
More,
No.
three doubles.
Well, you know, the plan also changed. I mean,
Yeah.
the plans were
Yeah.
developed.
Right.
I think that's a bathroom now.
No, it's a bedroom.
Is it? That one. Yeah, you're right.
You got three large ones on this side.
Right. No reason we couldn't go to three.
Yeah,
Double
I think
that.
it would add to the transparency of that corner.
And this sheet here, excuse me, this sheet here, this Wexford, this was the one that you were proposing,
Yeah.
the Wexford?
That's a sample. Oh, here.
Wexford.
Convincing.
The only thing it doesn't allow you to do is go in or out, or, I mean,
Can't do,
it's, so you can't go in and out and do some of the stuff you're.
Some of the
looking at.
shadow lines that you're suggesting would be the
Mortar color. I wonder if you could do, like, if you look at Abe's rendering, you kind of had a bay around, you know, these guys, could you run a expansion joint, you know, in that location to try to get something, you know, vertical?
this will not change.
Right, because it's like a polymer.
Well, you, on this one, you only did it on the, or Dave only did it on the bottom two,
I see, yeah.
you know, as a, to try to line
Try
up,
to make that a more vertical
Yeah.
expression.
as opposed to,
Right.
if, I don't know what you can and can't do with that.
No, that's okay, yeah, it's a touchscreen. That's okay.
So if we doubled it and then somehow define that as a two-story element.
Well, yeah, but you can pull it in or out. Well, you can't with that
I
stuff.
think you can, I mean, if it's like, well, I'm not, you tell me, but if it's like EFIS, you can change the thickness of the insulation on the
It's
outside.
how you turn the corner, that's the challenge. But if,
Right.
but if we can do it at a window, why not at a pilaster? So,
But if you're using this thickness of the brick, pop it out one thickness.
well, I think if we have a, you know, the corner piece doesn't have to be full. So we could cut it back.
You do a little more than an inch or something like
But I
that.
think if you can get some, particularly so close to the powerhouse, you'll really set that off. Well, I think that's what's kind of nice about this is it's got the vertical, you know, beige around it. and
I agree, and I don't think that that's a big challenge for us. I think we can accomplish that.
I mean, if you look at this Stowe brochure image in here, this building here has got a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
So this,
They can do it.
this capability, obviously, to do stuff.
Anybody else have the curiosity to look at that brick at the pump house? Just the color. I'd like to, wander out there with it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna match, but I think it's, of all the
I don't think it
choices
has, I don't think it has to match, I don't think it has to match.
No, I don't think it should matter.
sympathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of seeing a mock-up of this, my general comment on your sample was that I'm not convinced you've chosen the right mortar color.
It's plastic.
Seems like it should be a
Yeah, it's
little
not gonna
cooler of a gray and less.
There you go, knock yourself out.
Mike, what are your typical sills in the townhouses?
They're gonna be an ethos product, but they'll be, represent a, precast. That's not gonna be.
You're just gonna cover the foam.
Right. That's on the detail, right?
See, the light gray almost looks greenish.
Yeah.
You're seeing the vertical.
I'm looking at the page. Okay. Oh, I see, you're just gonna turn it down. So you're gonna only trim around the windows then? That's the only ethos product you have? I mean, you'll have your
Five
angle,
quarter
but-
trim.
Yeah.
And that's, presuming that's PVC or
Yeah,
something?
most of the trim is PVC, the bay is gonna be fiber cement, yeah.
Size of this returns, I can't.
How much of a
Well,
projection?
no, it just, what is that material?
It's gonna still be the black painted fiber cement,
Okay.
and it'll follow the same pattern.
Big those panels?
They can be huge, they can be
Yeah, I know.
4 by 8, these are not that big.
Yeah.
So you probably just answered this, but, what's around, is there a molding between the window and the brick return?
No.
There's no brick mold?
No brick mold.
Can I see the brick itself again? How greenish that looks. Yeah. And again, was this selected because it kind of looks like the old Powerhouse mortar?
Kind of, yeah, because white won't
Because
work.
without standing there looking at the Powerhouse, I don't know. I know. This has a greenish tinge to it that I just think, I don't know.
Remember, it sits back.
Yeah, no,
The color will be a
I know.
Full drawings are in the bottom half of this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, those are for reference. So how do we get to the next iteration, timing-wise? I'd like to be able to come back or somehow get to the tweaks that we talked about, an alternative window, kind of pilaster or that, verticality expression on those. I think those are the two issues that I've heard. And color the mortar.
Either, you guys agree on either a building we can go look at or a mock-up? Or the brick?
Would really like to see it.
Because once we commit to this, we presume you want to do this on the entire, like, what are the back three buildings?
We're not there yet.
Okay. Not likely to be clay brick back there.
Not likely to be clay brick. They weren't clay brick in the original.
I can't remember
Yeah.
that. You can't see them there.
Hey, well,
They're cleverly hidden.
Hey, this is a larger project to not do our homework.
Right. And that part of it, I agree.
Yeah, we'll definitely be back.
Only thing is, we gotta look, try to find an example of this. Yeah.
I think mock-up, that could be leaned up against the, Powerhouse might be.
That's not a problem. We can do that. Mock-up, we could do. Maybe we can get a mock-up with a window.
With a return,
Yeah,
with a return.
Yeah.
As many parts as you can
Yeah.
get on there.
Okay.
It'd be really helpful.
But I do think we'd love to also to see know if there's projects in the.
Well, my partner's been talking to the rep, and there wasn't one nearby, and so there may be one within 50 miles. I just don't know.
You travel.
I don't remember what it was, something, Tim, we went down and looked at stuff in Norwalk, down by the Maritime Museum.
Yeah, well, most of those are the stencil brick.
Right.
Pretty convincing. Not great, but pretty convincing. This product, this stove, I think is an upgrade to the stencil. And that's what most of these projects are being used, is the stencil. Not that that's bad. I think the stencil is, pretty convincing until you get up close and you touch it and then you go, oh, that's not.
You don't want to touch it. You guys have questions on any of the other?
So it looks like there are fences around the wells?
Yeah, there are.
It's just not, he has a gate there.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
wrong. You
yes.
put a gate.
Oh.
Yeah,
My
so
partner's
that's,
smarter than I am. So that no one will fall in. Yeah.
yeah, that's, I mean, this thing's horrifying without it.
I think they're.
I mean, I wouldn't allow that, the TPC would not allow that, I don't think.
Well, we're gonna put some plantings in as well, so we can get something to crawl up on.
Are you open? I have to wait.
You may have to wait a little while.
Egress wells
May actually add some kind.
Yeah, there's things
Like, I said the
like,
egress wells may actually add a lot of interest.
I think they're great,
You know,
yeah.
kind of like you said, the old city brownstone
It's like
kind
the
of look.
brownstone idea.
I mean, they're deeper than, the typical
Yeah,
old
they're maybe 2
brownstone,
feet deep.
but the concept is, it's kind of interesting.
If
You realize
If you looked at the old floor plan.
it's gonna be full of leaves
Well,
constantly,
maintenance is, you have to maintain. If you look at the old plans, there really was only one place that was a living space in these townhouses. Now we have a secondary, place that, makes a huge difference in the livability of these units.
You said a drainage?
Yeah, in fact, there's a drain that connects to the footing.
Okay. Yeah, those would be,
the egress
Well,
window.
you need the egress window, it can be as maximum as 44 inches off the floor.
Right.
So it's as shallow
I
as we
would
can.
think that would be.
It's also because now you got the grade outside that you have to accommodate.
No, but the floor of your egress wells is not like all the way down to the basement floor.
We don't want the floor
No,
to be actually at the windowsill. We want it to be 6, 8 inches below the windowsill.
Yeah, but, I mean, it looks like for your elevations, you could make them less steep, per the elevation.
Take a look at it.
I like them, I just wondered about how deep they are. and just-
Good innovation for
If I were to live in one, just sort of like how I would, deal with it, I have to
Yeah, exactly.
climb out of the window every
It
time. I
doesn't
have to
go all the way down to the
Oh,
floor.
okay.
It's right
So it's
below
not
the
as deep
window.
as,
Yeah, it just goes down to just below the window.
so it's not
Just below
7
it,
feet,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a place you're gonna climb out and hang out, but the idea is to bring as much daylight into that space. And the depth of the well, I think really makes it. If it were 3 feet, it wouldn't work, but at 7 feet, you really get the geometry of,
How tall are the basements?
I think they're gonna be 8'6", 8'2". Yeah. Right now, we've gone back and forth.
Product gonna come right down to the ground?
No,
or
it has to be a little off the ground.
So-
Inches? Couple
Okay.
inches off the ground. And we have the foundation planting there.
Just a standard CMU in the wells.
You know what, I'll get back to you on that. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's CMU, we could do a, split face, we can make it a more decorative.
Would you portage it?
That's another option, but then, eventually I don't know how long that lasts. Or if
Yeah, but remember-
we got a rock face CMU that's kind of attractive.
Nobody can get out there, so it could,
Well, they have to be able to get out there.
could last for a while.
Take a look at that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing what I don't think your standard elementary school CMU would make any.
It's not to this level of quality, I agree.
The fence is black?
Yes.
So the fence is 4 feet high at street level, or is it?
These are probably 42 inches high, I believe.
Oh, yeah, it's black, so.
4 feet,
well is, yeah, it's about.
Yeah, I noticed that too, yeah.
But there's a gate and stairs.
There's a gate and there are high riser stairs, which is about 5 o'clock.
Well, again, I'm thinking maintenance, so the leaf removal, snow, ice, and that, and so each well then has a yard drain.
Yes.
Or a 6-inch diameter plastic yard, yeah, so there's fractional maintenance elements to that, so that's, I was just curious from an elderly, somebody's gonna have to suck the leaves out of there.
One might turn to watch.
I'm trying to sue them.
Oh, yeah.
You got any other thoughts or want to see anything else? Was a mock-up on the brick before we commit to the brick. Window with exterior grille that simulate putty glazing, and
Typical pilaster treatment on the stack glass.
yep.
Okay.
Change that single to a double.
And to a double window.
And then you'll think about the CMU and whatever you
Yeah.
can suggest in
That's,
there.
that's the
What
easy one.
window what was the window?
On the front bay.
Is it
Here.
on this
Second
view,
one in from the
Miles,
right.
it's on the-
Yeah, it's the middle single.
These were three double windows on an original.
No, go to the left. Keep going, that one, right? Nope.
Oh, this
Yeah,
one?
that, all the way up, yeah,
Those
those
are
three.
three doubles.
Those three,
Which if you look,
so double wide, they're gonna look like this, is what
Yeah.
you're talking,
Yeah.
So-
rather than single wide
so-
and double wide.
so scroll down on that page a little bit further, keep going. The back is drawn exactly like that on the right.
Oh, yeah.
The original design was more like that on both sides.
Yep.
Got it, okay.
And if you guys look at the rendering, like halfway back, they kind of did a bay around the windows, the bottom two. You go in like two more.
Can we drop down?
Go to the rendering.
Keep going.
Nope, that one right there, if you zoom in on that block right in the middle there.
They had.
Oh, the old render.
Yeah, they had doing
You know, they kind
something,
of bayed those two first.
Like a panel in between,
yeah.
To set it off, so he's gonna try to, Mike's gonna try to do
Try to
that.
make that, recreate that, that's
Yeah.
something we could do.
I'll break that up.
Now, there was like a clock tower element.
Yeah.
Is that still gonna be there?
Yeah. Stocast.
Okay. But again, you might wanna,
Even the number,
but you might wanna consider a
Even the
little
hands.
little bit of detail to that as well. I mean, I'm just seeing your,
So that's
This-
kind of a historic marker, or, historic plaque that describes the history of the site.
like a smokestack kind of looking?
Yeah.
Smokestack idea.
That was the idea, was to mimic a smokestack.
That's the historical panel top.
So they'll sit in front of the powerhouse then, on that side of the,
Well, it's
the
kind of like at
driveway.
that corner of
Well,
the
no,
site.
but at the driveway, it's on the powerhouse side
Side,
as opposed to the building one
Yeah.
side.
Have you looked, these rather large unadorned gable ends?
Now, with this one, there's all kinds of equipment here, so there's really no point in, these are, big window here, that's a garage, that's a bathroom. And then you've got condensing units and stuff there.
On the
And the,
outside?
yeah, and the garbage is right here. This one, I like that composition.
Yeah, your little tower says copper appearance roof, but there's not really a roof to it. So what?
It makes me nervous about this elevation, independent of the composition, which is fine,
Yeah, I'd assume it'd be some kind of,
Just a metal pan?
of brick compared to the lack of, or the paucity of trim. Wondering if there is,
It's called out, but you don't visibly see anything. I don't think you want it to be like a cupola looking thing. I'm just curious that you've got it labeled on your drawing, yet there's nothing you physically see.
we had some, we might come up, we might have heavier trim, we might do just a little bit.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't put a trim board. I'm not sure that that's gonna do a whole lot for what you're looking for, but.
It's going to help. I'm not gonna
small enough, you could probably put a bluestone cap on it from that.
Yeah, really.
Added some.
And I don't think this is correct either. I don't think are you really gonna have a 4-inch thick bluestone cap?
But, you know, you've added some.
That's pretty massive chunk of stone.
The piers look pretty thick though, too,
Yeah.
3x3.
Yeah, but I mean, no. And you've drawn it about the height of a brick, which is about 2.5 inches.
You know,
But you've labeled it 4 inches, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think those elevations were never shown in 2015, so I think it's fair game, frankly.
You know what I mean? This is a 3x3.
I don't think those elevations, I'm just looking through this, were shown, and those were always part of what was gonna come back, I think. The ones that Sheldon's talking about. At least they're not in this.
It's furnished fine, so that's
The end elevation?
Yeah.
yeah, it's only drawn on 2 feet wide.
That's not in there?
I didn't see it, maybe I missed it.
Just
I
check the
certainly could.
dimensions on the thing.
You're
One
right.
of the things on there.
So a little more on that, to his point, I think would be a reasonable thing to,
Not that I care, I mean, visibly it looks fine, I don't think your notes match up with what's drawn.
like an episode of Perry Mason.
One other question,
Right, can I, just real quick, because there was a separate, I caught the conversation down on this end with Sheldon and Mike. I missed the conversation because it was going on simultaneously with Dave and Brian. Can I get just a quick one,
Okay.
so I've got it captured and then?
You've got 2 years, use them both. Okay, we were simply, looking at this LS3 drawing, and, because we were initially talking about the clock tower.
Yeah.
And it's got a note on there that says copper appearance roof, yet there's this flat, so we're kind of wondering what is really going on, what does that note mean?
Okay.
And then while we were talking about the flat top of the clock tower, we were looking at the entry drawing
Okay.
and wondering that the drawing looks nice and looks right, but if you look at the notes, it says that these brick piers are 3 feet square, which seems much bigger than what's drawn. And then it also says that they're capped with 4-inch thick bluestone caps, and that's a very massive piece of stone, and that's not what's drawn. So I'm just asking them to look into whether the notes line up with what they're actually intending.
That's the one you said?
I didn't really, that's the one you,
No, I was the light gray.
okay, that's the sand?
Yeah. It's the mint gray.
No, I had actually
The sand yellow?
thought the sand yellow, but again, part of it was that I needed to see in real life.
Yeah, this lighting might not be the best either for it.
Yeah, 'cause I don't
For
know,
anyone.
this is not sunlight, this is not,
Maybe we'll put.
because you guys may have gone out there with that box and picked the other gray, but in this room, the one you picked looks very green.
So, while we're on this LS3, I would just say that if we do get to the point that we like the stove brick, that clock tower might still want to be real brick, because it's over on the Powerhouse side, across the driveway from the main building, and I think it would just tie in with the Powerhouse building. Out there.
Other than it might introduce a third brick.
Yeah.
Because they're not gonna match that,
Right,
they're not gonna match that, and now it's gonna be its own.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it turns on how realistic this stuff really looks on a real building.
Right. We build the clock tower first, and then if we like it, we'll go.
This is very exciting that you guys are building this, by the way. Very exciting.
No, and I have to, and I have to say, there's a lot of,
Making it better, that's all.
there's a lot of architectural interest in what you're trying to do there, I appreciate that, and it's broken up, I mean, again, this is, one of the larger developments, in this town, I guess not anymore, it isn't, but big, and it seems like you're taking some care to break it up into smaller elements, and some different materials, and I myself appreciate that it's not just it doesn't look like a prison.
I have one more question for you. When you chose the brushed sand face, did you look at the tumbled version?
Yeah.
Too rough? Okay. Compared to what the Powerhouse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I have a list of all your comments. Pilaster detail.
Yep.
End elevation, windows, built sample. Some comments on the clock tower, but landscape architects will take care of that. Am I missing something? CMU, thank you. I knew I was missing something.
Mortar color?
Mortar color, we're going to do 2 on the sample, and then we can decide.
We've already got 2. I have
And then the additional window in the...
And the additional window, right? Thank you.
I'll put together, these gentlemen love this, I'll put together the meeting minutes.
Perfect.
She does an
And then
awesome job, by the
And
way.
then it goes out to them, and nothing goes to you until it's been reviewed by them to make sure that the appropriate, because I'm an engineer. Some of this terminology, I'm learning. They have great fun with me, but they'll make sure that it's right, and then it'll go out.
Okay.
Tim,
How long will that take?
It won't be tomorrow because I'm only in a half day, so it'll be next week. It'll be early, within a week.
We turn it around quickly.
Tim, can I ask, in your, excuse me,
Check.
when you were discussing some relief or some interest to the brick by the windows or whatever, was there any discussion of this top edge, like above this little shade piece? I mean, again, I just look at the Powerhouse building. It's
What
got
we're hoping is that large...
ins and outs, and yet this thing looks kind of like your clock tower where it just goes up and...
But I think you're missing the impact of that, which is going to really, from the, from a pedestrian standpoint, you're not even going to see most of that parapet, which is needed to hide a mechanical equipment.
I think if you look at the rendering, it's in 3 dimensions with the...
But that's not what this has now.
I believe this is taller than the parapet on the rendering.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, look how blank it is up above there.
What is that guy made of?
That's the same brick.
Yeah.
No,
Well, that's Hardy and AZAC trim. It's got a nice profile. There's a detail. We're going to use the old.
Yeah, I didn't see that in here. Other than...
Yeah, we can get you detail. That's really well articulated with bracketing. I think it really caps the building, and the thing above it is going to be
Would you think maybe pushing that up further, Dave? A little bit?
Well, it's more the lack of any detailing, right? Like it's like the wall that comes up and stops, obviously there's got to be a cap on it, and that cap is probably going to come around onto the face for a drip, is there a soldier course? You've got a soldier course shown on your little clock. I don't know if there's a soldier course at the top of the building. I don't know. It just seems like it's a wall that just stops, and then you look right now, this picture on the screen, look at all the lines there on the Powerhouse.
The Powerhouse doesn't have a cornice.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying, it just seems like it stops.
The main feature you're going to see. Like if you're in a drone, you might
Yeah.
have to take exception to the height of the parapet, but I honestly don't think that's an issue.
Your thoughts
I
on that?
think it would not be a big deal to add the soldier course or something up there under the cap.
No problem.
Yeah, be consistent with your clock tower.
So Shannon will send out next week, and it usually takes us a day, maybe 2 days, just everybody read it and then
And then we'll work with
Get
the
it back
contractor to figure out how to get
mock-up.
this mock-up done.
Right.
Oh, I got one more question. On the roofing, I'm fine with what you're thinking of using, but did you tell us the color? All right, and that is what
Charcoal
color?
blend.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Good color.
So from a schedule standpoint, so the committee meets every month. They meet monthly, the third Thursday of every month. The next meeting would be October, whatever is this.
So
October
hopefully we'll
15th.
have a mock-up by then, and, drawing certainly can have by then. I hope this doesn't preclude, if things go the way we're hoping, that we can submit for a permit.
And I can't sign, so it gets, so.
Well, the review process is
You
gonna
could
be
start
3,
to
4
review.
weeks, so
Sure.
while they're reviewing, I mean, they don't care about solar courses.
You're
Building
gonna,
department doesn't.
so I would suggest a conversation and a meeting with the building department. Because typically this project's a little different than a typical project. When you're ready to submit for building permit, I would suggest a meeting with the building official.
Well, we
To
did
bring
that
the
already.
drawings.
Oh, we had a meeting with him, yep.
I think she's referring to the process, Mike.
Oh.
They're not gonna issue a building permit until these guys have signed off.
So
It's
typically,
understandable, yeah,
the
we're
building
gonna go the
official
process.
is not gonna look at it until I sign off on it.
I see.
I don't sign off on
Until
it
they do.
until they're happy.
All right,
So
We're gonna leave
I
them
would
on.
suggest a meeting with the building official
okay.
to walk through some of these things. I don't know if the window wells have been discussed with him, or if this is the first time that's being introduced. So there's things, if you want him to start to look at it ahead of time, I would suggest a meeting with him. Otherwise, it's not getting looked at till after I sign off on it.
We've got some steps to go, so.
You think we could have Mike submit drawing changes as we've articulated to him and get many of those issues put to bed before we finally get a
Yeah,
chance?
if you wanna, if you get it earlier, we're good about emailing.
The mock-up's gonna take some
Yeah.
time.
Right, so we could perhaps roll.
Yeah,
some of these
anything,
issues.
I
yeah.
appreciate that.
We do a lot of it, yeah, via email.
Yeah.
Great.
Asking to be sure, on the mock-up, you guys are looking for the brick, correct?
Yeah.
So I did a mock-up out of wood studs and plywood, and we did it from there.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't, yeah, oh, no.
But you'd like to see the window.
Yeah, we'd want to see the setback of the
I
window.
just wanna make sure that I don't get.
Yeah, the windowsill and.
But you do have a window that, you can get a sample window from your rep, and we'll just hold, you don't necessarily have to install it in your mock-up, we could hold it up against the mock-up to see how it's
We'll be
going.
able to install. I mean, it's just a nail finish.
We'll make it,
window,
we'll make
so I
it,
mean, it's-
we'll do a little construction drawing of the
Yeah.
mock-up.
I just want to reiterate again, a real building, to see a real building somewhere where this would be.
That's on the list.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure you had that.
And we're, like Sheldon was saying, we often do, you guys have a package, you say, in 2 weeks, you want us to look at. Send it to Shannon, and we'll circulate around electronically, and
I really appreciate your.
then if there's a few things that are left at the end of the month, a month from now, we can run over that, but we don't want to hold you up. We're ecstatic that you guys are going forward with it, and it's, we've been excited about it, a lot of us in town for a long time.
We're as excited about the apartment buildings as you are about this.
100 new people and 500 new cars every day, that's what we're worried about.
That's not an architectural issue.
Exactly, that's the problem. But I guess we'll deal with that when it's all done, right?
Businesses will like the 800 new people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, Lovely Street's backed up already, so I'm just thinking, we'll see.
You need a light.
Light is right. We'll get a lot of new lights after this.
Curious if you're, looking into any kind of, I'm curious if you're looking into any kind of electrical vehicle charging capability for your tenants.
Talking about that. The townhouses will have, the
They have garage.
panel will have the
They have
capability to run we're not gonna put a charging station, but
Right, yeah, yeah.
we'll design the infrastructure for it. And then we're talking about on the site, how we can accommodate some charging as well, for the, balance.
These are for electric cars you have to buy in New York.
That the power grid won't support.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. It's exciting.